All right. Welcome back, everybody, to What I Wish You Knew About Your Wedding. I'm super excited to have Trish from Three Sparrows Weddings and Events. Thank you, Trish, for being here. Really quickly, I just want to talk about Trish. I've worked with Trish, and she is amazing. She is so detail oriented. Like, I thought I was detail oriented. But her timelines, the stuff she sends over, the documentation, the amount of communication I get from Trish is like levels above other planners and coordinators I've worked with, because she's so on point and she confirms like minor details and gets really nitty gritty into the specifics and just make sure everything is set before the wedding. She's really great to work with, because the more detail oriented, the easier my job is. So the more you're doing, the more detail oriented you are, and the more you're doing and the more specific you get, the easier it makes my job, our job as DJs. So, thank you for being here, and we're excited to talk to you about everything. Let's do this. So with that introduction, let's do this. Let's have you tell us about yourself, about your experience, what you do, everything you do, and the services you provide, just whatever you want to tell us about. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Trish Marcos, and I'm the owner of Three Sparrows Weddings and Events. And I'm a full wedding planner. My love for wedding planning actually started 16 years ago when I signed up to do a wedding ministry at my church.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to get involved, and I was like, this sounds fun. I'll do this. So I signed up, and it was me. Like, everything about it. I loved the details, the decorating, spending time with the brides. And my husband, who was my fiance at the time, I roped him into doing it too.
The wedding ministry.
Yes,
okay.
He did it. And actually, a lot of the husbands did it too. They were kind of like, they would carry the furniture. They'd be moving flower arrangements. They were doing everything. So we did that for many weekends, and we loved it. We got to hang out and then, just serve at a church.
Really quick, was that paid or unpaid?
It was unpaid.
Unpaid. So you were doing it as a ministry, like giving back and serving your.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved it.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so we got married soon after and raised our family and had 3 kids. And they're actually the Three Sparrows that the name is after.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the Sparrows
so
are like
cool.
different sizes, and it's like one for each of our kids.
I love that.
Yeah. So I always knew I wanted to come back to wedding planning, and I just loved everything about it. I didn't know that like being detail oriented and like organizing an event was like something unique. That just came easy to me, and I loved it. So when I started Three Sparrows, I knew I really wanted to focus on that, and it's been a blessing ever since. Like, I pray for every couple that I meet that they're just God ordained, and that like that's the couple that God chose for me. And so when they choose me, I'm like, okay, this is it. They're the person that's confirmed, and I'm always praying for them like throughout the wedding planning process, and it's just been super blessed, like the whole business.
Yeah. So basically 16 years of doing this.
I just planned lots of events for family and friends throughout the years. And then later I started Three Sparrows.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Three Sparrows for 16 years.
No, but I mean, you've been doing it, but I mean, the experience, I mean, you were still doing it like 16 years ago. You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. And that was my love, like right away. I loved everything about it, the ceremonies, and just seeing like 2 people come together, and just knowing like like how good their marriage was going to be. Like, marriage is such a blessing, and so to be a part of that, like planning aside like the ceremony and all of that was so special.
That's so cool. Well, if I had known, I prayed us into the first interview. If I had known, I would have done. Yeah, I had no idea. I was like, okay, no, it's like, all right, this is a great second episode to have today. So, no, that's awesome to hear a little bit about your history and the name, where the name of the company came from, and then it's. I think it's really important to highlight how, what you said. No, being detail oriented and organized, we have found through doing so many weddings, it's not for everybody. Yeah. Like, I know obviously you're planning and coordinating, so you're not working with someone else because it's just you. But if if I were to go back to my email and send you some of the stuff that I get from, you'd be like, wow, it's night and day. No, go ahead, tell her. Like, I mean, what, like, you've gotten stuff and it's like, what? It's like
chaotic.
It's like a screenshot from notes.
Yeah.
Like,
oh no.
yeah. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Or like a text message or things like that.
Oh, bad.
It's really, really.
Oh yeah. It's like a text message like, hey, so sorry. Here's the schedule for the wedding.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And we're like, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
like, thanks for that. Like, you know, like, yeah,
really
I guess
helpful.
I guess when we get there, we'll see what's really going to happen.
Yeah.
Cause we get couples that have, planners or maybe even MCs, and just it's really important for the audience to understand, like, you know, there's levels to it. There's levels to, like, you know, how detail oriented is the person? How organized are they? Like, how much are they going to help? And are they really going to help me understand my wedding day and stuff like this? And I feel like that's something you do, because the events I've worked with you, it seems like the couple's very prepared. It's not like anything's a surprise.
Yeah.
Like when I go and I talk to them or I talk to you and something's going to happen, it's like everybody's on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
No one's like, oh, you know, whatever, I didn't, you know, or, oh, we have to add this in last second. Like,
yeah, I try to keep everyone like united instantly. Like, we're a team, we're all coming together for this couple, and everyone on the same page, everyone gets the same information. And
yeah,
that way we're just like ready to work together.
Yeah. But it's interesting because if you know, if you could be a fly on the wall at some of the stuff we do with other coordinators, planners, it's just like, you'd probably get a headache. You'd be like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, we're doing things on the fly. Didn't you have a wedding with four
coordinators?
He had four and not from the same company.
Yeah.
Like they had like four,
and they were all.
Is it like a coordinator collective? Where
No. It was like
Together?
weird. It was a weird deal. And he had like, and they were all handing him schedules.
They were all conflicting, and then
wow.
they had like their own MC, and they also had their own performers, and they had a whole bunch of. They only wanted me to play the music for them, but nothing was. No one knew what was going on
Because there's. No, we get
awful.
that stuff. We get that stuff.
Yeah.
And then we also get stuff where, like, I've had weddings where it's one primary coordinator and then they have three assistants. They got the little headsets and they're running around. And one will tell me to do something and I'll do it. And then the next one will come and say, why are you doing that?
Oh, no.
And then the main coordinator will, I told her to tell you to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
argue with each
dude,
other,
okay, like, let's,
Yeah.
like, I can't, guys. I can't. So it's like, I'm doing my best. I'm literally doing what everyone's telling me to. So if there's mistakes or it's not right, it's I don't take a lot of that pressure because it's like, you guys are confusing me.
Yeah.
Like,
They're not on the same page.
No,
not even
not
within
at
a
all.
team sometimes.
It's funny you say that. I didn't even tell you that last one. What happened at the cocktail hour? One of the coordinators said it was supposed to happen outside at the ceremony site, but another coordinator said it had to happen inside. So they were kind of arguing whether the guests would go inside for cocktail hour or stay outside. And I kept getting like,
was it raining?
No. It was just a mess.
Yeah, no, it was actually a hot day.
But this gives you a glimpse into
Yeah.
why, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't, and that's all for anybody who's watching to know that I don't just bring anybody on this show. It's not like I'm bringing people who are professional, who are good at what they do. You know, and that's why you're here. And it's, you know, so, you know, not to get too far into all the messes we deal with, you know, but I do appreciate, like, you know, someone who's organized. And I feel like that's what you bring. Why don't you tell us, this is one thing that I commonly see in the wedding industry is there's a lot of confusion between, for a day of coordinator, specifically, let's talk about that. For day of wedding coordination, when it's actually the day of, your role in that, just, you can tell me as much as you want about what do you consider your actual responsibilities, versus not. Like, what are you actually covering and doing for the couple, so that people can kind of understand what a real true professional day of coordinator, what you do. What do you cover? Like, what?
So on the day of,
what do you like, how early do you show up?
mm-hmm.
in that time before the wedding starts, what are you doing? And then during, what are you doing? And then even after, you can even talk about after. So just walk me through so you show up, you get there at whatever time, and then just walk me through a day, kind of like in general, of what you're doing throughout that time.
Yeah. So usually I'm contracted for 10 hours.
10 hours.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I like 10 hours. I think 8 hours for me is too short.
Mhm.
I think they need me to be there longer. So 10 hours is good. I'm usually taking phone calls in the morning before that 10 hours
Really?
even starts. I'm taking phone calls on the drive over there. And
Wow.
yeah. So sometimes people still have questions. The rental company might have questions, or vendors. So even before I'm on the property, I'm already taking calls.
Who would take that, right? Like
yeah. They usually don't. If they're not on the property and that's not their contracted time, they wouldn't.
Right, but who's going to take those?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't hire someone like you,
that's a bride who's going to have to
their
take
phone's
that call.
Probably on silent. They're getting hair and makeup. They're missing all that.
Right. Usually they're in hair and
Okay.
makeup during that time.
This is very interesting.
over
Okay,
there.
so you're already
Yeah.
you're not even really technically on the clock yet, and you're
Right.
you're already doing
Right.
the deal. Okay,
Right. Yeah. So 10 hours. And I try to work the 10 hours best for each couple. So if they're having like a grand exit, then I'll try to make my 10 hours so I can stay for the grand exit.
so you stay all the way through.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll come a little later.
Okay.
I'll usually come about 3 hours before the wedding.
3 hours before.
Yeah. So
okay.
they're still like at their tail end of getting their hair and makeup done. I'll check in with the bride, check in with everybody. I kind of want to see what's going on at the venue, what's arrived, who's still needing to come, and then start decorating, start putting out all the decor that they've packed. And we've already pre-planned everything. Like I talked to them about getting totes for all of their decor and packing all of it. We make a list. So everything has a list of what's in each tote. So I know exactly where it needs to go. So that way on the day of, I can just like plop it out. It goes wherever it needs to. And then I just check in with everyone, make sure everyone's getting there on time, their scheduled time. And I always I'll send out, park here, or try to give detailed instructions ahead of time to all the vendors. So that way, when they get there, they feel better. They know where to go, especially hair and makeup, because they get there so early.
Right.
Sometimes
They're
they get
there
there
early.
even before.
If it's on site, right? Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
It's
If
early.
it's on site, there might be one maintenance person that opens up the door and just lets them in. And they're kind of like, they got to figure out where to park and what staircase they can use, or
Which again,
entrance.
no coordinator. That person
Right.
is calling.
They're calling
knows
the
who?
bride. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if she's not answering, they
She's
might
not
be
answering.
late. If they're lost, they can't.
They're
figure out how to
lost.
get
So
there.
so potentially now now we know why makeup and hair can start late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Keep going. Yeah. This is
yeah.
good.
So we do all of that, and then so all the decor set up. I really watch the way the bridal room is, because like an upset bride or bridesmaid can really change the whole tone
Absolutely.
of the room. So if it's like a bridesmaid is really upset about something, or something's broken, or she's just having a bad day, she can bring the whole mood down. If there's no music in there, if nobody has eaten, no water, like it can be a bad bridal room. So I really tried to take care of like whoever's kind of like causing a rift, if there's somebody.
Yes.
And I can usually spot that pretty easy. So a lot of the bridesmaids, they're actually the ones that use my emergency kit more than everybody.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're the ones that I'm like sewing someone's dress. I'm like whipping out a little tool to like fix broken jewelry, or like I'm tending to them, so that way the bride can just be at peace. So that way no one's bothering her. She can just get her hair and makeup done.
That's such a
just
big
enjoy
deal.
the moment. And then she doesn't even know that stuff's going on.
Right.
So if I can take away
such a
that
big
tension
deal.
before she even realizes it,
That's
then
so good.
it can just change the whole mood.
That's
and
amazing.
then it's like a better day for her, because they're stuck in there with her. So
yeah, we've seen it where either family,
yes,
bridal party, like I've walked into, I've been setting up my DJ equipment, and I've seen, the bridesmaids come in, and maybe it's a sister of the bride, and just start talking badly about like, oh, this and this is supposed to be done already. And then they take that to the bride and stress her out.
Yes. Yes. And I'm a neutral person. I'm not a family member. I don't have any like past bad relationships with any of these people. So I can just come in, and I know nothing about any of these people, and I can just, take on any little task that they need. Or if they're trying to like steam their dress, like, hey, don't steam it near the hair and makeup area because you're
right.
going to ruin her hair and makeup. But I do tell the bridesmaids ahead of time, steam your dress, make sure you guys are all drinking water, make sure everyone's had breakfast. And I always tell the couple to try and have food for the wedding party.
Yeah.
So that way they are eating, because a lot of the time they're getting there in the morning. They don't have time to leave. You don't want them to leave and go look for lunch. So if there's food there, there's stay. They're going to be in a better mood if everyone's fed and has water. Yeah, and then I'll go check in with the groom. They never need anything. They're just chilling. They're hanging out.
They never need it. They're like,
yeah,
they're just.
They're good.
Are they typically nervous about?
Sometimes, and they just need help with like shirt stays on their suit, or like putting their corsage on. I'll put everyone's on really easy, but their thing is like, when do I get ready?
Yeah,
they're just kind of hanging out until that time. Yeah. And then we'll get started with ceremony, and I coordinate with everyone, constantly checking in with the DJ and making sure that, we're starting on time, or let them know if we're starting
music's
a little later.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. All of that stuff. And then with the officiant, that he's ready. And if there's any special notes.
Okay.
So like for one wedding, we did like a social media minute where he announced like, okay, this is your minute to take out your phone and take a picture of the couple. They're going to like turn
becoming
and smile.
really popular. Yeah.
Yeah. And then put your phone away, and we don't want to see it because we have like a professional videography and photography team. And then, they don't have phones out in the aisle. So any of those special notes, but likely I've already sent several emails or talked
about
to him
that
over the phone about that ahead of time. And then just kind of reiterating like, okay, we got to make sure we mention those things, and then step out of camera view for the end. Yeah. For the kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I always plan in the timeline at least 5 or 10 minutes for the couple after the ceremony to kind of like sneak away and have that moment together, because you need that moment to just like kind of soak it up together
and
after
process
the
some of
IDs.
it.
Yeah. And just have like a drink of water or champagne and just,
because people don't realize how quick it is.
Right.
Like
and then you're never alone the rest of the day.
You're not. Yeah. You do all that planning and all that. And I try to tell you, like, it's going to, for you, it's going to feel like a flash.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. So to give them that moment where they get to just be alone, soak it in, and then just get right back out and start with photos. And I'm just constantly coordinating with all of the vendors throughout the night, making sure everything goes well. And then I stay till reception. We start packing up all of their decor and get ready for send off. And then all of their decor is packed up. All of their gifts are packed up, and we pre-plan whose car it's going to go in, who's taking what, if someone's taking a marriage license, if someone's taking the card box. I always ask them, do you want the card box do you want the cards? Because it usually has cash.
Yes.
So if they're going on their honeymoon, they might want
Take
that cash.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do you want it? And I'll put it in a special envelope, and I make sure the groom has it, and get them ready so they can just take off, right after the grand exit. And I always pack like a box of their cake, like desserts and all the little special things that they've like pre-planned to have it in that box, so that way they can enjoy it. Because usually they, have those few bites of their cake, and then they don't really get to taste anything else.
Yeah. And then so let's go back to so to during the wedding though. During the wedding, after ceremony they get that 5-10 minutes, and then the next thing that happens is typically cocktail hour, right?
Yes.
But also for all the formalities, you are also queuing that, running that, gathering the people together. Like you are the key person that does all of that. You get the people together, you let the DJ know, hey, we're gonna do grand entrance, I have everybody. Like you run that entire timeline. Yeah. And you make sure the food is ready, like all that stuff. And you're doing all of that while checking the temperature of the room and keeping the bride and groom happy, because there's no one else to do that.
Right.
If you don't have that, someone like you, the DJ's not doing that.
Right.
No.
The venue doesn't care. They don't care. They're just running a venue.
Right. And if they have a venue coordinator, they will do all of the like ceremony reception. They'll do the timing for that. But usually after the couples serve dinner, they're gone.
They're gone.
And then
they're gone at dinner. Yeah, they leave.
Yeah.
And then so all the rest of the formalities. So it's like, for instance, for us, it's when we're ready to do the speeches.
Yeah, falls on us. We become the
coordinators. But we can't do what she does, because if we're missing someone,
right,
you can go and find them.
Yeah,
like and if there's a situation, you can handle that too, where we can't navigate that. We're behind the DJ booth.
Yeah,
like we're so limited on what we can do.
Right.
So having someone like you, like already like the fact that you start before you're even there, you're already taking calls, you're already maybe handling emergencies, whatever is going to happen. Floral is going to be late. This is going to be late. This person went to the wrong venue. Like, I'm sure all these things come up, but you're there to navigate. Whereas if you don't have, it just must be crazy to, a nightmare to not
all
have
those
that.
little fires that I put out that the bride and groom never even know about. Like, I can't imagine them having to do it on their own, or having like a mom, a mother-in-law, or sister do those things, because they're not a professional. They're not there to get paid to do that.
Right. And we know what happens, because what happens when mom, sister, or brother is playing day of coordinator, we know what happens. Somebody, floral is like, cake's not there. Let's pretend cake isn't there. No cake. There's no cake. Everybody now, but it's going to take time, because I'm not going to notice the cake isn't there. Mm-hmm. You would notice immediately if cake wasn't there. You would know.
Checking in with me.
Yeah, everyone's checking in with you. And if it's not there, you on your schedule, it's so detailed. Cake, I've seen your schedule. Cake should arrive. This should arrive. Floral should be setting up at this time. But without someone like you, no one's going to notice that. And by the time they do, it's too late. And then what happens? Then it's the mom coming up to me because like you said, this is after cake cutting's after dinner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The day of venue coordinator's gone. So who do they turn to? They turn to the DJ sometimes first, sometimes someone from the venue, but they're just going to toss their hands up. And then they come to me and it's like, hey, like, we're supposed to cut the cake, but it's not here. Do you know what we're supposed to do? Do you know if the cake is here? Like, why would I know that? Like, no, like you ask the venue, and then the venue doesn't know. Mm-hmm. And then what happens? Then the mom is going to be panicking and go tell the bride
immediately.
The cake's not here. And then it's like, so it's like, without having someone like you to manage those things, like what, like for instance, let's just run that scenario. Let's pretend the cake never showed up. The cake doesn't show up. What are you doing? What are you going to do? The cake, the bakery forgot. They didn't make it. They never put in the order. They never confirmed the order.
Mm-hmm. But I've actually had a cake disaster.
Let's hear it.
The cake arrived, but it arrived completely different than the bride had ordered.
Okay.
So that was so unfortunate. And they dropped it off before I got there. So I never saw it. The venue coordinator was happy to accept it, put it in the refrigerator. She doesn't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
She's not part of any of that. And so I told the bride, and I showed her a picture of it, and she was like, this is not, because I was wondering, did she make changes toward the end that maybe we didn't talk about? And it was completely different. So me and my assistant were trying to fix the cake. I was looking for flowers and ribbon, and they put like this green, like sprinkle stuff all around the edge of the cake. It was very weird how they did it. So I got on the phone with the baker, called him, see, like, can you come back and fix this? This is not right. And he was on delivery, so he couldn't come back. So I was able to, with my assistant, get the cake looking so much better. And the bride, I was like, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of it. And she was like, okay. And so I was able to get part of a refund for that cake, because that was not what she expected. Ordered. Yeah. And I ran it by the groom, because I knew she was going to want to talk to him about it. So I checked with him, and he was like, okay, we'll accept the refund. And then I talked to her, and I was like, he's okay with it. We just need your final approval. And she was like, okay, I'm good with that. So she didn't have to worry about fixing the cake, didn't worry about calling the baker. She was able to get a refund for part of it. And now I keep a whole like bakery kit set in my emergency case, which that'll never happen again.
Do you have like frosting or something in there?
I have like the little sculpting tools and like so many things. I'm prepared for everything. Like that box is crazy. It's like endless. There's just stuff in it. It's like every wedding that I do, I add more things to my emergency kit.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah. So like if she didn't have me, she'd have to make all these phone calls and deal with it while she was in hair and makeup, which I mean, nobody wants to do that. And then like a mother-in-law or mom can't do that. She doesn't know what it was supposed to look like, or she'd have to go down to the kitchen and look at it. And
because typically they're literally, whoever it is, they find out there's a problem. Yeah. And all they do is go tell the bride there's a problem, or the groom.
There's no solution.
There is no solution or ideas. It's just like,
here's the problem.
Oh, we have a problem. And then they go tell them, and then they start freaking out and panicking. And then it starts messing with their day.
Yeah. Yeah. So any little things that, come up, I just take care of them. They don't even know half the stuff that comes up and that they don't have to deal with.
They don't have to deal with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nobody does. No one from the family. Like, that's the good thing about having someone there with you. That's like a coordinator working with you, because your mom doesn't want to do that. Your mom wants to enjoy that day with you too. Your sister wants to enjoy that day with you too. Everyone in your family, they don't want to come to your wedding and have to do a job or fill in where, someone could be taking on that role.
I can't imagine having to deal with that as a bride or a groom, like being that level of stressed, of ordering something, expecting something, and then while trying to get ready, now I have to deal with that. Because I wouldn't be level-headed. I wouldn't be calmly trying to explain myself. I'd be screaming at people like, what's going on? Like, I paid for this.
Well, yeah, but even,
you get your result that way.
Yeah,
either,
but even also at your wedding, remember?
Yes.
There was supposed to be a bar at the ceremony site.
Yes.
And there wasn't.
Right.
And there wasn't. And because I forget who it was that was kind of filling in but you didn't have a real true coordinator.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a bunch of confusion.
There was,
about that. And then everyone was trying to correct everyone.
Yeah.
And then everyone got sent down to where the bar was.
Right.
But then people were saying, no, go back to the ceremony site. There's a bar up there, but there was no bar.
Yeah.
But there was nobody there before. You would have been like, hey, where's the you guys are supposed to set up a bar up there. Like these are like these. And so then we sent everybody back down.
And that's where my DJ came in as coordinator, because I didn't have one. So I didn't actually have to deal with that myself.
Yeah, but
didn't know that either.
If you had like a full on professional, like these are things that get caught, because
100%.
I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
You're the groom.
I don't know.
You're not on site. Yeah. You're not seeing
taking
that.
Photos.
You're taking photos.
Yeah. Trying to enjoy your day.
So it's like, and again, these aren't things that totally ruin the wedding day, but it's just like, you don't want your wedding to look disorganized or like, like the that was like not a big deal, because it was really easy. Just, okay, never mind.
Somewhere else.
The bar actually is down here. You guys are good.
Yeah.
Send people that way. But there were supposed to be 2 bars and there wasn't.
Right.
But the only person that really truly would have been able to catch that is a day of coordinator who has the entire plan and what's supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't like. I try to explain to people sometimes the difference. Like it's hard. It's hard, which I'm glad we're doing this episode, because everything you're talking about, just how you're there for the bride, like all those things you're doing, like kind of like managing emotions and people, like, like these are, as the bride, you're going to have to deal with all of this. If somebody busts into the bridal suite and wants to start telling the bride about how, oh, this isn't right, and they're not setting anything up right, and and this and that, and this groomsman, he's already drunk. Like, you're there, you're handling all that. You're like, right? You're managing, you're like kind of babysitting.
Yeah. I'm trying to like pre-predict what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if I can see something ahead of time, I try to take care of it right away. So that way it doesn't even become a problem.
Yeah.
If I see a bridesmaid that kind of needs a little more attention, like you can tell she's kind of seeking attention, I'll give it to her. Like, oh, you need help with this? Want me to help you put your shoes on? Like, whatever it is. I've had a mother-in-law. No, it was the mom of the bride. She was like really needy, and I could tell like she was like kind of bugging the bride while the bride was trying to get into her gown, and she wanted attention. So I was like, let me help you. Let me help you with those shoes. Let me buckle it up. And I was just complimenting her and giving her that like extra attention so the bride could get ready and not have to hear any of that. And then she just felt like so much better, and you could tell that her mood changed. And then that was just, averted. We didn't have to deal with the mom being a problem.
Yeah, that's so good that you're able to do that.
Yeah. It's important to have.
Yeah.
I like doing it. And I don't have any like, preconceived notion about any of these people. I don't have like a sister-in-law who like I don't like and I don't want to help her and she's annoying. Yeah. So it's like I'm happy to help everybody.
Yeah,
I'm just a neutral person.
You're indifferent.
I'm here for the bride, and I just want her to have the best day. So I'm cool with it. And usually I meet a lot of the family ahead of time. Like I'll go to their bridal shower, or like,
oh, really?
I'll end up meeting them if we're going shopping for different things. And it gives me a chance to put a face to the name. So on day of, everyone's like a lot more comfortable with me because they've already met me. We already have a little bit of a rapport, and it just helps things run a lot smoother.
That's right. I had no idea.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I had no idea.
You're working way before the 10 hours.
Yeah, way before.
I just love my brides. I've had such awesome brides. Like I really have. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. So how far out should so I know you do planning, but let's just say someone's hiring you just for day of coordination. I think you touched on it, but how far out should they be hiring that person?
So ideally a year would be great.
A year would be
great.
For just day of coordination?
Well, no, not day of.
Okay, what about day of coordination?
So day of, I mean, you want to do it at least 9 months.
Still
least.
pretty far out.
Yeah,
9 months.
If you can do 9 months, that would be great. And it benefits you because even if you're doing like a month of day of coordinator, she's going to have a ton of resources. So even if you hire her and you're not working with her until it gets closer to the wedding, she can refer so many vendors, save you a ton of time. Yeah. It's going to be people she's worked with, people she trusts. She knows they're professional.
And you'll do that even if you're just doing day of, even if you're not planning.
Yeah. So I do wedding management. Mine's 3 months in advance. But if they hire me, I've had people hire me a year and a half before their wedding for wedding management, which is 3 months before their wedding.
Okay.
And I'll just give them everything. Like I'm not planning the wedding with
them.
You're
not planning
They're going to
it.
do the planning because they're
so
just
they're going to find
me.
their vendors.
Yeah.
They're going to do all that.
Yeah, but I can give them referrals, which is going to save them time.
Preferred vendors.
Yeah, they're going to know it's a trusted vendor that I've worked with, and it's just going to make it easier for them. And then I have like, bridal boutiques. There's a wedding bridal boutique that I work with, and I can refer them to that place and get them in right away. I like to get them an appointment right away because they need 6 to 8 months to order a dress, get it back, get it fitted, altered, maybe sent back another time.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So if they can hire them early, even though they know they're not going to need them for a while, they can just get all the resources from their
9 months out. Okay.
Yeah.
So, man, I didn't know that. I thought day of coordination, you could hire them much closer to.
You can. I mean, people
the wedding day
might be available, but then you miss out on all of those resources.
All the
that
resources
you could have had early on that could save you money, that could save you time, tons of time. Then you don't have to look for all these, Google reviews and see if there's someone trusted. If this wedding planner or coordinator is going to refer them, they're likely someone they've worked with and they trust, they work well with, and it's just easier for them.
It does make sense. I just didn't think of it that, because when I think of day of coordination, I mean, I know nothing about, never hired one myself. Mm-hmm. So I know nothing about it, but it's interesting because I just assumed you would naturally wait until you're closer. Right. But to hear 9 months out, the way you're explaining it makes sense because you're still going to help them out with referrals. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be doing the hiring and the vetting and you're going to just give them the resources. Then they're going to do all that because you're not doing full planning. Yeah. But by hiring you 9 months out, you still are going to help them with the resources. Now, would you say that's, you can phrase it however you want. Is that something every day of coordinator should do? Is it something every day of a coordinator does do? Or do you think people are not providing that kind of value? Do you think that's unique to you? Do you have any idea?
The 9 months.
Yeah. You're thinking? I mean, helping them out with all those resources, even though you're not doing full planning, would you say that should be a standard thing that your day of coordinator? I don't think a lot of
people do that.
You don't think so?
I don't think they do. But that's something I do.
That's something you do.
Yeah, because I want to give them the best result. Mm-hmm. I want them to have the most success with their wedding. So I'm even available for emails during that time. They can, we can talk through email. We can set up phone calls. I'm still even communicating. Some of them, they won't talk to a wedding coordinator day of or month of, won't talk to them till a month or two before their wedding. So I'm available early. So if they have questions what do you think? Do you have an idea about this? What do you think about doing these kind of favors?
You'll
Should
answer
I do favors?
Yeah,
I totally answer that because in the end, we're coming together. They're planning it. We're going to work together in the end. So I want to give them the best chance of success.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then, because that comes down to, I've seen a lot of stuff on different forums and different questions floating around in various places. So it sounds like communication, even if you hire just a day of coordinator, it should be communication should be pretty consistent. Now let's just pretend for a second that the bride the couple, the groom, is not reaching out to you. They're just quiet on their end because they don't know. Like, they don't know anything about getting married. They've never been married before, obviously, so if it's silent on their end, but you're hired, are you checking in?
I am.
Okay. How often would you be
at
doing
least
it?
Once a month?
Once a month, you'd be sending in and say, hey,
how's it going?
Anything I can do?
Hired? Do you need any references? How's it going?
Yeah, because I've seen people posting like, I hired a day of coordinator 3 months before my wedding, or 3 months ago. My wedding is in a month, and I haven't heard from them.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's pretty common.
What I know, but why is that? What is that person? Is it just, are they just not? Is that a sign of you hired the wrong person? Is it because they're inexperienced, or what do you think it is? Or are they waiting to hear from the couple? Like,
I think it's a standard. I think the standard is
do as little as possible.
For month of or day of, it's like the month before, they'll have one meeting and they'll talk for maybe an hour or 2 hours. They'll get all the information, and then they don't really talk until maybe the rehearsal or wedding day, and they're available. It's kind of like they get hired and then they're on at that 1 month mark.
Right.
Then they're available at the 1 month mark. But I feel like that's not enough information for me. Like, I want to know everything. Yeah. So when I do wedding management, mine's 3 months and I'm available the entire time. A lot of like standard is kind of, you get a set amount of meetings. And then if you want to purchase more meetings, then you can purchase more meetings.
Wow.
That's pretty standard, which I didn't like because like part of Three Sparrows is I only take a limited number of weddings each year.
Sure.
Because I want to give them like a full service,
best
personalized, experience. Like I'm there with you for every meeting. If your fiance can't go, we're still doing it together. Like it's moving. We're keeping up with the wedding planning. So I couldn't do like you get 3 meetings and 200. There'll be like $250 for an
meeting.
Additional meeting. Yeah,
for how long?
Like an hour, maybe 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong business.
Yeah, but I don't I don't think you can get enough out of that.
If anybody wants a $250 phone call, I'm the guy. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
I had
the
no
standard
idea.
is kind of, you get the 1 month meeting. That's where they get all the information from you. And then you get maybe 2 meetings. They're not in person. They're Zoom or phone.
Zoom or phone.
Yeah. And then they're there the day of, and it's usually like 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. That's pretty standard. Yeah.
That's crazy.
They're probably not taking phone calls from vendors.
No, not ahead of time. No, not on the way there.
They're not answering that phone on the way because nobody has their number. Yeah. Because otherwise it would be $250 to answer this call. Yeah.
And usually they're not, their communication is only email. It's not even phone call until that one phone call that they have.
Until they get the one deal. So it sounds like, which I want to get into next is in interviewing or hiring a day of coordinator, because again, couples don't know. They really don't know what that person should be doing, shouldn't be doing, what they're responsible for, which is again why I love bringing this show to people, because we're really clearing some things up and seeing how you manage it and what you do. It sounds like if you are interviewing, if I'm going to hire a day of coordinator, I should probably ask, how many meetings do we get?
Yes.
And when do we start communicating, and how often do we communicate? And sounds like a crazy question to ask is how much is it for extra time? And
definitely.
And so you kind of want the person that says, oh, like I'm available. Like if you need me, I'm available. That would be ideal.
Yeah.
Right.
But it sounds like there's hidden costs. Like I wonder if people get sideswiped by that. Like they hire the person, and then that information really isn't out there. So they do the one meeting. Maybe they reach out and say, hey, thanks for the call yesterday, but we came up with some more questions. Send an email. Can we have another call? And then what? Then they say, yeah, it'll be $200.
Yeah. Well, that's something you would definitely look at in your contract before, like, you
so it'd be in a
sign
contract, it'd be a written contract.
It would have to be.
So you also want a written contract.
Absolutely.
You want to get everything in writing.
Yes.
What they're providing. Okay.
You have to have a contract. That's a must.
Because I feel like some people would just hire
They do.
Send
or
the
they'll
money,
have like an invoice.
Zelle them the money, and it's just an invoice.
Yes, yes. And it'll just have an agreement like I'm showing up for 8 hours and this is my fee.
Right.
And this is extra. It'll say like a la carte, $250 for an extra meeting, things like that. And then they just sign it without really reading. But if you have a contract that you both agreed and you read all,
but you got to
the
look closely at it.
Yeah.
Because you got to look at that. You got to look, because I mean, I have a DJ contract and it's a legally binding contract and it's written by attorneys, but I don't even know what half of it means. I don't know. I mean, I know it protects both parties and all this stuff. But in there, buried in there, there is like some things buried in there. Like if people didn't read the full contract, one of the small things is like, we put a price on extended hours in the so here's where we're agreeing to do 6 hours at this rate. But if you want to extend, which doesn't really happen anymore, people used to extend all the time, it's going to be this rate. And so no one's ever been caught by surprise by that. But it's like, I could see how if they didn't look at it, they'd be like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be extra for more hours, I mean, that would be a silly thing to assume that we're just going to stay an hour for free. But that's like a number that's buried in the contract. I do encourage people like, hey, read it and let me know if you have any questions, because the contract is very simple. It's just the rate, how much we're charging, where we're going to be, what equipment we're providing. It's a very basic contract. Yeah. But then that's like the one thing I can think of that's in there that if people didn't read it, but that's talking about going beyond the agreed time. So that's not like a secret. We're trying to scam you. They're
charging, that's usually upfront. That's an upfront thing.
So we're doing that, but I feel like maybe this is why people get so confused about, hey, why haven't I heard from my day of coordinator? I hired them. Well, it sounds like they should have. If they go and read their contract, they'll see why. Because they're only going to get the one meeting. They're going to get maybe rehearsal day and then day of.
And that's probably why they're confused.
All that's included.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I see that a lot where people are constantly confused and complicated about, hey, how I don't even, this is all my day of coordinator has done. Should they be doing more? It sounds like, hey, look at what you agreed to.
Yeah.
That's probably where it's at.
Yeah. And for my couples, I read all the contracts. Even if they've like hired people before they've hired me, I'm like, send me all the contracts, send me all the agreements. I want to see everything.
Oh, you look it over.
I look at it.
You look at them
all the pages. I download everything and read everything. Wow. Yeah. And I even like print
Have you ever caught something like off the top of your head that was like, that you're like, no, you don't want this, or this is a bad deal?
There have been times where they've said like, oh, the venue told us like, they've made promises, but it's not in the contract. And they'll tell me like, oh, they said this and this and this. And I'm like, well, it doesn't say that in the contract. And then they're like, oh, well, whoever I met with said they approved that. So then I'll call the venue and then ask them about it, and they'll revise it and send it back and have it re-signed.
So you have it in writing.
Nice.
Yeah. I've been in a venue, like a final details meeting. I always want to go to that. And they were signing paperwork for their bar, and it said like, this is the bar minimum that they had to spend. And they were like, whoa, this is really high. And I was like, is this the right price? And he was like, oh, actually it's less. And I was like, okay, can you write it and put your signature next to it that you're the one who approved it? And he was like, yep, I can do that. So he did it right there in front of the couple, and they turned and looked at me and they were so happy. They're like, because they can make all the promises they want, but if it's not in writing and someone's name isn't attached to it, then they don't have to follow through with it, and they could say, well, it's not there. So
I did
accountability.
I did a wedding one time in downtown Phoenix in Arizona, and it was a rooftop deal. The ceremony was outside on the rooftop. It's uncovered. And then inside on the rooftop, it was covered. One of those, nice spaces with windows and stuff, so you can see out the skyline and all that. And it was funny because, the bride was really adamant about, hey, if we want to extend, can we extend? So yeah, that's in the contract, right? It's the price is it's just the hourly rate. You just have to pay it in that at that time. It has to be paid. I'm not going to take payment after. Yeah. And she's like, okay. And she's like, because I think we're probably going to end up extending. She's like, but I don't, I just want to know what that's going to cost. And I said, yeah, it's in the contract. And then I went to for this wedding in particular, they paid me to go to the rehearsal. So I went to the rehearsal, and they didn't have a separate they had the venue day of coordinator. And we all know, like you said, they leave at dinner. They leave at dinner or sooner. And I went to the rehearsal, and I told that day of coordinator, I said, they said it's going to be okay if they extend. They said they have the venue for as long as they want. And she's like, yeah, but nobody extends. And I'm like, I was like, well, I don't know what kind of DJs you have here, but I put on a pretty good party. So I was like, but I said, okay, I understand that. So people that come here, they don't usually extend. I got it. But if they do, is it going to be a problem? She's like, no, they can go and they can go past, but it's not going to happen. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, got it. So this is the best. So within the first hour and a half, they spent $6,000 on liquor within the first hour and a half.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Then by the third 3.5 hours, I went with the dad to the bride. I don't know why he brought me, but he told him we're out of money. Like, bar's done. Like, we already spent 6. And he asked her how much. And she goes like this, 10, take it to 10,000. And he looks at me and he goes, tell him 10,000. I'm like, I don't know. But there's no coordinator, right?
Yeah.
So he thinks I'm the guy. So I go tell him like, hey, the dad's going to pay for 10K. Like, boom, just keep serving it.
Yeah.
We get towards the end of the night, and they run out of the 10K. And then he goes and he tells me, tell him 2K more. And then that's it. Like, we're tapping out. And so I did. And then, I mean, these people are just like, it is like party town. So it hits midnight. And then she said she wants to extend, but they had a sparkler exit on the rooftop. They did the sparkler exit. They came back. They partied for another 2 hours, 2 a.m.
Wow.
And then no joke, like, when we left, when everybody cleared out, the tables were not bust, like glasses all over the place.
No.
Because all the employees clocked out.
Right.
The whole rooftop, I could have done anything I wanted. The kitchen, I walked through the kitchen there. I could not find a single employee because that coordinator really thought no one's going to extend.
There to lock up though?
No.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like,
it's the rooftop. It's a hotel and it's a rooftop. So obviously there's security on every level.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not like people are going to be able to like just go mess around up there.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I don't know if it was in the contract or not, but all they had was the venue day of. And then there was nobody to help anybody at the end of the night. Like, with where is the stuff? Can we get help loading stuff out? Like, there was no one to be found because all those employees didn't have the authorization to stay.
Right.
And then they might charge the couple a cleaning fee because they stayed past.
Who knows? But I was like, now you're making me think back all the way to that event to like, it probably wasn't in the contract because there was no employees. There was no one.
That's crazy.
Literally the place was a ghost town. I'm like, I guess we'll just pack up and leave. Like, we left all the doors open and and we just left. There was no one to check out with. So all the servers, the banquet captain, everybody else that was left, they all clocked out. I think after midnight because it was supposed
party going there. Like, all right,
because it was supposed to be it was supposed to be over at midnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
one guy came and said something to me at one point, but I was like in the middle of DJing. I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm sure he was telling me we're out of here. Like,
he's telling you
please
good night.
like lock the doors when you leave. But no, contracts I think are important and like we work together at Lakeside Tahiti, and one of the things too that's really important about that place is it's in some other venues it's a 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
it's Heart and Main in Santa Clarita, hard shutdown. Not supposed to go a minute past, and like some couples like also get confused by that. And the couple I worked for at Heart and Main, they knew the deal. But I'm just saying, like, there's small things that can happen. I think, like specifically venue contracts, like you said, like how many bartenders are we supposed to have? How much is the liquor supposed to cost? Like, and if you don't have someone on your side, if you're just the couple going to the final details meeting and or doing the contract with no one like you with your experience who's looked at these contracts over and over again to catch those things. That could be bad news.
Yeah.
I actually never thought about that.
Yeah,
like that you would look at other vendors' contracts.
I always do.
I would assume you look at mine, but I never thought about you looking at like all the contracts.
Yeah, because I'm the advocate for that couple.
Right.
So they're trusting me to catch all of those misses that they're not looking for. They've never planned an event that big.
I wouldn't even catch them.
And you don't know what to look for. That's the thing. They have no idea what to even look for.
Did you read all your contracts for your wedding?
No. Nobody does. They just say they like the price and they sign it.
Yeah, the price is okay, got it. Yeah. That's how I would be. I would just sign the contract. Like, I wouldn't even think to... I wouldn't read through it either.
I should know better, but no, I didn't read any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had a venue that was saying that our couple couldn't use sparklers. After I met with them in person and she confirmed, I was like, are you sure? Because we've been having fires in California. Like, are you sure we're allowed to do sparklers? She's like, yep, that's fine. It's in the contract. It's fine. And I was like, okay. So on the day of, she was like, oh, these are the wrong length of sparklers. So I was like,
what?
Okay, I don't remember seeing a specific length. And I know that contract because I've read it several times and I confirmed with her, I confirmed with the bride that everything was okay. And so I was like, are you sure the length is in the contract? And she was like, let me check. So she went and checked with someone higher up and came back and was like, oh yeah, they're good. Sparklers are good. I was like, okay, it's because I pressed her on the contract because I knew the contract. I had specifically asked her.
And if you weren't there, absolutely, they would have.
They wouldn't have had. She was already trying to find another solution. She's like, oh, let's use rose petals or something else. And that was what they envisioned for their grand exit. Yeah. Sparklers at night, not flower petals.
Yeah, they would have shut it down.
Yeah. And
if you don't have somebody advocating for you, absolutely, it would get shut down.
Right. And you don't want to do that. You're trying to enjoy your night. You've put so much effort into this. You've probably planned it for a year. You spent more money than you've ever imagined.
Yeah, especially if they're just hiring you for day of, like, but the fact that, you can go through the contracts and just verify everything and the plans and that's a big deal.
Yeah. I tell
not even something I've ever thought about.
Yeah. I am like, make sure they have a contract and they have insurance. Because if they have insurance, they've taken that next step to protect themselves and to protect you. And some venues, they'll charge vendors if they don't have insurance. And if the vendor's not willing to pay that fee, then that goes on the couple. The couple will have to. So they can get day of insurance.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So if they want to hire someone and they don't carry like an annual insurance.
And they refuse to pay for it.
Then they'll say, okay, then I'll tack it onto your bill to cover it.
To do that.
You had to do that?
Yes.
I just
for what?
That liquor liability.
Oh,
for the bartender.
Because bartenders didn't have insurance.
Didn't have that insurance. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pay for it.
Yeah, I carry year round. I can pull as many certificates as I want of insurance, COIs. I can pull as many as I want, unlimited.
That's crazy. That's something I did it and I didn't even think about it.
Yeah. And that's not a fee that you're planning for.
No.
So when you're trying to budget and you're managing it, you're thinking, okay, I'm hiring these people.
What was it? 300, 400?
It was like 3, 4.
Yeah, 3, 4
around there.
Yeah.
And it depends. It depends on like your party size. If you're having like a guest count, it's usually by guest count. If they do like day of insurance, so they'll charge depending on how many guests you're having at the event. So that's another fee that they probably weren't planning on. Yeah,
I carry insurance, so I don't have to deal with that. But I do know that venues will have some subsidiary or some third party company that they'll recommend to, buy insurance for a minute. Yeah, but it's interesting that if they were hiring someone and that person doesn't have it and is not willing to pay it, that then it falls on the couple.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then that adds up. You have 4 or 5 vendors.
It's gonna be $1,000 plus
insured
for just insurance for the day for all your vendors. Yeah, that's
so. If you like right out the gate, do you have insurance? Do you have a contract? Then that's someone that you want to hire because they're protected. They're protected. You're protected, and also event insurance for the couple. That's something that a lot of couples don't get.
Yes,
event insurance is something that they should definitely get.
Yeah,
and that helps with like if they have to postpone the wedding, it'll cover fees to rebook, like a rebooking.
That's
fee.
Insurance in case it has to be canceled or postponed or something
or
like that.
Weather changes.
Yeah, weather change.
Things like that, so they can get like
the building burns down.
Yeah,
something crazy.
And it could be like $150 for that, but that could protect you for like $1 million.
Right. That's so good. That's so interesting. Man, that's so different.
It's very valuable though. Like I didn't even think about having an advocate. Like that's super cool.
No,
I can imagine worrying about like contract stuff right when I'm about to do my grand entrance and go dance with my wife for the first time. Now I have to like argue with someone about a contract.
Right.
And
then come back and smile and be back in the moment.
Well,
like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
I will say one of the common misunderstandings I do see mostly at weddings is over the bar. Is over the bar, like what they should be serving. Like they start charging and it's like, then they go tell the groom like, hey dude, they're charging me. I thought it was, and then the groom has to go over there now in the middle prior to, other things happening. It's right after ceremony, one of the biggest days of your life. And now like you're in this like bartering negotiation with the venue. About what happened. I thought we booked this and, and then it's a lot of misunderstanding and not understanding their own package or contract.
Yeah. And with the bar too, the couple, I always tell them to put aside money for just the couple because I've had like an event or a wedding where the guests, they blew through all the money so fast. And then when the couple wanted to get a drink, there was no money left. So now going forward, I'm like, okay, now I know, like tell them to put aside money for them, just for them, whatever amount they think. And then that's just for the couple so they can get drinks throughout the night.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Also smart. Yeah, crazy. Wow. Yeah, this is a lot of information. Like this is a lot more than, like I ever would have thought that you have to deal with. Yeah, so for you, so aside from like all these things that you should check into, like what if I hire you, what do I get? Let's say that all seems fair, like how many meetings and the contract and okay, perfect. That's great. Now, when hiring a coordinator, what would you think people should look for in a coordinator? Like in another episode, we talked to another vendor and they said that actually a couple vendors we've talked to have said like experience or how many weddings they've done isn't that important. It's more about XYZ. Like, should people look for personality, or do they look for experience? Are they looking at reviews? Like what other things should they consider besides just like what's included in the services? Like what would you say people should look for in a day of coordinator?
So I'd start with the website. I think the website has the most information and then go to their socials and see kind of what they've produced in the past. You kind of see their personality, see if that's someone that you would click with, and then set up a consultation. So that way you can talk to them, get to know them. You can do it in person or over the phone and see if that's someone that you connect with because you might be spending a year with this person. So you want to know that you like them.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah. And if your fiance can't make a meeting, it might be just the bride and the wedding planner. So you want to know that like, you have a good like working relationship. I mean, it can be very like transactional, but like if you want to spend time with this person and they're going to be going to a lot of your meetings, then you want to know that you get along with them and you find some common interests.
Okay.
Yeah. And then reviews, of course, because you're going to want to see what other brides have said about them. What are like the key things that you're seeing a lot of. If
you saw like, if somebody like went to a website or let's say found somebody on social media and just like loves this coordinator, but then they go to the website looks great, but then they look at reviews and maybe there's like, I'm not having like 1 star really bad, but maybe there's some reviews that are like, so how do you suggest they like, if they're like already identifying and like connecting to the person or maybe this person was even recommended, but then they have like, a few like not so good reviews, how heavy, like, would you weigh that into things? Would you just kind of take it? Would you like,
I think a personal reference is probably the strongest.
If
it's like your friend or someone that you can trust their like true opinion, they're going to tell you the truth, what they liked, what they didn't like. Yeah. That's going to be the strongest argument, I think, because reviews can, sometimes be
reviews,
questionable.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's like a friend or family member, I love those kind of recommendations. Like when my friends say, this is the guy, I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it.
Right.
Like I have
word of mouth.
Yeah. Word of mouth, I think, is the strongest.
So important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think word of mouth, I've seen like ads or people like on social media and these advertising agents like word of mouth is dead. And I'm like, no. I was like, I only hire people off of word of mouth. Like,
Yeah.
I go to people I know first and say, hey, do you know anybody that does this?
Yeah.
And if nobody I know knows anyone, now I have to go and do other research. But I still, I'll go to a Facebook, my local city Facebook group, and ask people, hey, who does great work at whatever? Who's a great handyman? Like whatever it might be, or who's the best mechanic in the area?
Yeah.
And I just look at the person who gets the multiple recommendations, and then I'm like, okay, obviously this person is. Then I'll go look at reviews and other things to verify. Oh yeah, this is
confirm
300 plus, 4.5 star reviews. So there's a couple people that were disgruntled. In any industry, you can't be perfect and you can't please everyone. So yeah, I think word of mouth is still the strongest for me.
Yeah.
Like recommendation. I don't know why people think that's not a valuable resource, I mean, that's how you hire me. I worked for you once, and then now I still work for you, and you recommend me, and that's word of mouth, right? And then you have other vendors that you recommend and stuff like that, and it's important too. Like you said, you have all those resources, and you don't have just one DJ or one floral person. You have a list, and that's important because people need to find the person that matches them. It's not, like yes, I'm a great DJ, but there's a lot of great DJs. I'm not. I never say that I'm the best DJ, because there's DJs that are just as good as I am, but they have a different personality and different style. So it's like, it is important. It's nice that, you provide those resources. People just aren't in the dark, just like planning on their own, especially if they're only hiring you for wedding management or day of coordination. You're still helping them with that. And that's really important to get, help them with options. And advocate for them, the contracts, all these things that you're doing. It's actually a lot more than I expected.
No one knows
you're doing a lot more than I ever could think of. Like I always just imagine the day of coordinator shows up, sets up some decor, manages the timeline, and goes home. All the before stuff, I wouldn't have thought that you were involved so much.
Yeah. I mean, I even take short notice phone calls. Sometimes a phone call is just quicker than an email, or sometimes they're just having a day and they're like, are you available for a call? And if I'm available at that time, I'll take the call. Like
wedding stress, wedding anxiety, feeling overwhelmed. Yeah.
And, or if it's later in the day, I'll take the call later in the day and we'll talk about it. And sometimes that's helpful because then I can find a solution to the problem. I can give them advice, and I'm a neutral person, so they can complain about anybody.
Yeah.
Their family, their fiance, whoever it is. And they just feel so much better being able to do that versus, I don't have a meeting for 2 more weeks. So
wait. You're just in there supporting. So, one more thing I want to ask you about is tell us about, just so people know, what type of weddings do you do? I'm assuming you do everything like luxury, and then do you do destination?
I haven't yet.
You haven't done destination. So, but you're not restricted to just California or Southern California.
Yeah. I live in Southern California, so that's easy for me.
Yeah.
But I haven't had any requests to go anywhere else, but I'm not opposed
you might after this. Who knows? So you've done, well, what's the furthest you've been?
I've gone to the desert.
Like
Indio.
So just all over California.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah. That's cool. Is there any weddings in particular that you've worked on in particular that like really stand out, like super unique? Anything that, just anything that was really fun to you, like different? Is there anything comes to mind?
I got to work at the Mission Inn in Riverside. It's like a historic.
That place is nice.
Yeah. And I actually grew up in Riverside. So I grew up going to the Christmas light show and things like that. So to be able to come back and work there at such a beautiful venue, that was amazing. That's probably.
Would you say that's your favorite venue?
That's probably my favorite. Yeah.
Mission Inn. Yeah. Send her the payment. Okay.
Yeah. That one had a chapel and the reception all in one place. So that was easy. And the couple stayed at the hotel. So they were there. Nice. Their family was there. Everything was all in one location.
Yeah, contained.
They can do hair and makeup there and go downstairs for the ceremony, go down another level for reception.
That's cool.
And it was beautiful. Anywhere you walked on the property, it's all historic. It was beautiful.
Probably good for photos.
Yeah.
Do they provide food catering there? Or
oh wow. They had everything.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you have in your mind, when working on weddings, this is just a random question. Do you steer your couples a certain way, like in all inclusive venues versus not? Like,
No, I try to see what their style is and their budget, because we're, stuck to the budget. Whatever it is, we got to work within that number.
mm-hmm.
So whatever that is, we go from there. And then, I mean, I like when they have everything all in one place. Ceremony and reception, I think
Right.
they get the most out of their day because you don't
Mhm.
have that travel time in between.
Yeah.
But if they want 2 separate locations, we definitely make it work.
Okay, nice. Yeah, because I know that a lot of all inclusive venues, like some of them don't allow outside catering and stuff like that. So I'm
Mhm.
sure that's like in the process of all the determining that you do to help them figure that out when you're doing more of the planning side versus just the day of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Do you have any other questions? This is a lot, man.
It's way more than I expected.
I'm like
Yeah.
processing.
Cool, though,
I'm
yeah.
processing all this, and like I
A
just
coordinator, a planner, a therapist. Like,
Yeah. I know. Like
Yeah, I always say people don't know
friend
what
for
I
hire.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's all kind of because there's so many like different ideas out there of what a wedding planner does, from like the J-Lo wedding planner movie to like movies that you've seen with wedding planners. You think like she does it all. She flies with you here and goes there. Like
Yeah.
not everyone does that.
Right, not
So
everyone does that.
No one really knows what I do
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Well, I think I do know there's a lot of confusion between planner versus day of coordinator. I do know, and I feel like we've answered a lot of that. Like, I mean, I feel like we've answered that today, like the difference of what, your responsibilities are and what you cover as day of.
Yeah. And also the venue coordinator.
Mhm.
She's a whole nother girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then people think, oh, well, I have a venue coordinator. So
We already
I'm
know.
set. That's completely
I can tell you guys right now that's almost it's barely anything.
Yeah, they're there for the venue
They're advocating
and
for
for
the venue.
you.
They're advocating
but
for the
they are
venue.
there to set up everything for the venue, make sure
Right.
everything that the venue is promised, they get it out
Yep.
and it's there. But they're not there to like put out little fires. Take
But they're
care of
also
your
not there
bridal
till the
party.
end.
Right, that too. They're not
Yeah.
there.
They're not
until
there.
the
So
very
when the end of the night comes and, we see people lost, they don't know exactly what's supposed to happen. I mean, eventually they figure it out, they get the
Yeah.
guidance, but
end.
yeah, it's a big difference. The way a wedding flows and goes and the way it ends, even the way it ends is so much different.
Yeah,
you
all
know?
the chaos, like
Yeah.
cleaning up everything.
Cleaning
all the
up,
decor,
making sure
where all the
everything's
presents
together.
go.
Yeah. I'm sure as you go along, you're probably collecting things and, you're doing that stuff. Like you're getting their glasses and,
Mm-hmm.
their champagne glasses and whatever, and getting their stuff ready. Are you clearing the bridal suite and the groom suite, helping with that?
They usually do, but I always go back to make sure that there's nothing left
Nothing left
behind.
behind.
Yeah, and then try to find or pull whoever knows whose bag this is or whatever it is. And then before the reception ends, I always get with the bride and make sure that they have all their stuff for their getaway car.
Yes.
So that way it's packed and I put it in the car
Oh, okay.
for them. And then I put my little cake box that I made for them in there so they can enjoy their cake
Yeah.
after the wedding.
Because we see it all the
That's
time.
amazing.
We see it all the time. Like
Super
whoever was responsible, they're just like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh man, like
Yeah.
I'm the guy, like like
Yeah.
is there a box I'm supposed to carry outside? It's
Yeah.
like it's like
and in the timeline, I put that like this, the presents are going with Uncle Joe
Right.
or whoever it is.
Yeah.
Like it needs to go in his car. And in my notes, I have what kind of car he has.
Wow,
And I go and make sure that we plan that ahead of time. And I know,
that's pretty
a lot of
good.
detail.
That's wild because
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like all the coordinators that I've worked with that are not venue coordinators, like even the ones where I'm part of the consultation with those coordinators.
Mhm.
It's the coordinating company, but the day of coordinator that they send is not the
Not the
person that we
person.
were talking to
Yeah.
on the phone, and they don't even stay till the end. They also don't know really. They don't even know me because they weren't on the phone call.
And they don't really know the couple
They're
either.
just going off the notes that were from the phone call. So they don't
Yeah.
actually know either what's happening.
Yeah. And joining that phone call, like the call we had with our couple that we did, like we're on the same page ahead of time. And then any questions you have, if she can't think on the spot, I got the answer for her
Mhm.
because we've already pre-planned everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because
That's super valuable.
because they was 3 days before I took
The
over.
First one?
Yeah, the first
I
one.
don't remember.
I think it
It's
was-
less than a week.
It was less than a week. I think it was 3 or 4 days before the wedding. But the way she worked and the way it worked and the way we got on the phone, it was just like we put it together like in like 72 hours.
Yeah,
like,
and you
wow,
just
that's
swooped
crazy.
in. Like no one would have ever known you weren't the original DJ for that
oh
wedding.
no, it went
That
that
was
wedding went perfect.
Yeah.
That wedding was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
But But I will say, if it was not for you, it wouldn't have been that way. It wouldn't have been that way. There would have been a lot of unanswered. I would have gone into that with probably some of the answers musically, but there's no way you could swap a DJ out 3 days before and have it go so smoothly. There's no way, because you were there to run it and, and shift things and make sure everything was going as planned. And it was literally like a perfect wedding. Like, and it was amazing. And so, but that's what you get when you hire someone like you.
Yeah.
If you start losing vendors like days before, like the day, you're in trouble. But if they have someone like you, then you have backups. Like if the DJ for some reason can't go, or the officiant calls out, like, is that what you want to be worrying about on your wedding day? Or do you want to have somebody who has a list of people that they can run down and be like, hey, I need to pull a favor because these are the people you recommend all the time. So there's also a relationship there where they're going to try and help you out because you give them work. But if you're doing it all on your own, no officiant, you're probably going to have to get someone to just try and fill in.
That's wild. Like, I'm thinking of all the things we've talked about, like even past episodes, and like now I feel like that's like the most important thing that I'd want to look for is like someone who has my back like that, who can catch things, like that's pretty cool to have. It's very unique too, because like a lot of other coordinators, like I just said, don't offer that.
No.
Yeah.
So even like the ones that you hire yourself, like their companies, they're sending their employees who they're just employees. Like they're just there to carry.
Yeah, you're hiring a wedding planning or company, not a person. You're not hiring the person. You're hiring a company.
Yeah.
And I think also that's important for people to understand who am I getting? Who are you hiring?
Who are you getting, and how much time are you spending?
Are you the person? Hello, are you the person that's going to be there on day? Well, can I talk to that person? You know, like, yeah.
Yeah, that does happen.
Yeah, because, in the world of DJing too, I tell people there are co-ops. There's DJ co-ops. And so it's a DJ company, but you hire and then you talk to somebody and it's the same deal. And then they send a DJ. So you may be on the phone with one person when you book the DJ. Then you get on the phone with somebody who collects all your details and music, but then they just collect that, put it in a folder and ship it off to the DJ.
Yep.
And then the DJ shows up, and then this DJ's never actually talked to you, but he has all the details, but there's no connection because you're just getting the DJ that's available, not the person you talk to. So, and people don't I try to explain that in certain things too. People don't understand that, like, so what he's talking about in the wedding planning world, it happens in the DJ world too. Like, you talk to Christy, but then on the day of, you get Sarah. It's like, whoa, like, and that's your person for the day.
That's crazy.
It's interesting. Is there just anything off the top of your head before we wrap up? Is there any other like thoughts or anything you want to share with anybody about, day of coordination, any other thoughts, like things, people can do to, prep themselves for that, or for hiring someone? Any last thoughts that you have that you want to share?
So not everyone has it in the budget to hire a wedding planner. And often that's the first thing to go because they're like, I can do it. But if you're going to do that, you're going to need to designate someone other than the fiance to help with that role. So if it's like a mom or sister, someone that's going to be with you for those meetings and try and help navigate through all of those things.
So what you're saying is don't use your fiance.
Yeah, he's not enough because he's not going to be available for all of those things. You both can't. You're probably working your full-time job while you're planning it, and life is still going on. You're still going to celebrations, birthday parties, like all those weekends you think you have to work on weddings. You're not going to. There's going to be Valentine's Day, Christmas, holidays, like all of those things eat up the weekends that you think you have to plan. Yeah. So it can't just be the two of you. If you can't hire a wedding planner, you need to have at least like a sister, somebody, like a trusted person that can advocate for you, that, can go over contracts with you and just kind of like run information by someone that's going to stick by you.
That's good advice. Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's important because, when you're planning a whole deal, and then there's other things, like you got to plan like wedding dinner rehearsal, then the rehearsal day, and then and then all the meetings that are required. Like I do know people go to cake tastings, they go to see the floral. Like there's all these things to do, and like you said, not everyone's going to be available all the time.
Right.
So that I know that can be difficult.
I was a groom. I was not available.
I was the guy.
Yeah.
I was the guy who was not available.
Yeah, you just can't be. Like life happens. You just can't.
Yeah.
You need one or two.
I told her, whatever you want, babe. I'm down for whatever you want.
Just do it. Yeah, just do it. Hey, I found a DJ. I don't care, dude. Just,
basically.
Does he like money? Like yeah, that's great advice. That's a nice piece of advice.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we got a lot of information here. Thank you so much for coming on the show and being here.
Thank you for having me.
So informative and so much I know.
It blew my mind.
And so much
super cool.
And so much stuff I've never read anywhere before. Like I've never seen what you're talking about. I've never seen people, like I've seen Facebook posts and different stuff in wedding forums, and I've never seen people talk about doing the things that you do. So yeah, it's really interesting to the lengths that you go. Let's give everybody your socials and all that. So where can they find you? Website, social media, whatever you have.
So I'm on Instagram and Pinterest. You can find me everywhere at 3 Sparrows Events.
3 Sparrows Events, plural. 3 Sparrows Events with the word 3,
3 spelled out. Yeah.
3 spelled out, THREE. Yeah, Sparrows Events.
And then same for the website, 3sparrowsevents.com.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, Trish, for being here. Thank you guys for watching another episode of What I Wish You Knew About Your Wedding. If you have questions or want to connect with Trish, you heard it, 3 Sparrows Events. So please reach out to her if you're interested. Also on this episode, you can always leave comments below. I will share those with Trish, and on other episodes too. I'll share those with our vendors as well. And if you have questions about your own wedding, episodes you want to see, please let us know. Please subscribe. We're on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and probably other places I don't even realize, other affiliates. So you can pretty much consume, watch, listen to the show on your platform of choice. But we do ask you subscribe, and again, participate, leave comments, like it. And we are also on social media as well. And then all those details are in the description below. Specifically for sure on YouTube and Spotify, you will find those details. So one last time, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dustin.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. That was a great episode. Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys. Tune in for the next episode, What I Wish You Knew About Your Wedding.